All right.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey.
All right. Look at us. Video working. Everything's happening right. Perfect. So for all of you, I'm going to introduce you. We have Jordan Butler, Shelley Connor, Kate Leland, Randy Romo. They've all been featured in this book. I'm Bryant Phelan, your moderator, and I'm here to start this wonderful session of Megan Volpert and Friends. So if you guys want to go ahead and go around and just kind of tell a little bit about yourself. You want to start, Randy?
Sure.
Awesome.
My name is Randy Romo, and I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I'm 64 and a dialysis technician. And a writer. I always forget that part.
That's fabulous. I know we all have these day jobs, also creative work that we do, kind of just keeps our double lives fueled. Maybe queer people are given just a little bit more, that extra thing. What about you, Jordan?
I'm Jordan. I am published under Jordan Butler, but I have recently married this summer, so I am Jordan Tran.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yay. Very stoked. Still very stoked. I love getting to say my wife. It's like my two new favorite words.
Oh man. I'm trying to I told Megan before, I was like, I'm going to cry so much. Like I cannot. And here you are just starting that. So
yes, like crying all of the tears. It's awesome.
Good tears.
I am 27. My gosh, by day I live.
That's fabulous.
Yes, I work in a restaurant. I am based in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And when I am feeling some type of way, I love to write, mostly poetry, but any configuration of words is cool too.
That's fabulous. How about you, Kate?
So I'm currently an MFA candidate at the University of Mississippi. I write poems, though I have held many assorted day jobs before I got this sweet gig. I was a preschool teacher. I am often a lifeguard, hostess at a bougie Mexican restaurant. That was fun. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's fabulous. All right, Shelley.
Yeah, so I'm M. Shelley Connor. I am an assistant professor of creative writing at the University of Central Arkansas and also a writer as well. I'm excited because my debut novel will be out next summer in July.
Yes.
Hopefully the world will be
Fabulous.
back open so I can go on a non-virtual tour. For it. So I'm really excited about that.
Huge congrats. That's a lot of work.
It is. I mean, it's been over a decade of my life, so for sure. Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope that you're also able to tour. It's much different to be able to be around people versus the virtual playground we have today.
Yeah.
All right, and we got Megan. Megan!
Hey y'all, my name is Megan Volpert. I am the editor of this fine anthology under consideration for the next hour. Thank you for your attendance and your interest in this project. I bring to you all these fine, interesting identities that you see before you today. And by day, I am a high school English teacher. So, you know, just saving the world, no big.
And migraine survivor.
Indeed, indeed.
So I want to know, Megan, you put together all these really fantastic people in this lovely book. Do you have any particularly favorite stories that you came across that moved you in a certain way? I know that I have had some, and I imagine each one of you probably does too.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that I created this book is my wife, who the internet knows as Dapper Mindy, is really interested in actually kind of the same area as Shelley Connor is going to talk about today, I think probably. And so I wanted to do a book that my wife would enjoy reading, because a lot of my work is like about the late 70s and rock and roll and other stuff that she doesn't care that much about. So I was like, what can I get Mindy to read that I've written? I thought, let me do this. Her fashion is so inspiring. Let me take the message that I received from her and bring it to the wider world in a broader way. So originally I had planned to dedicate this project to her because it's sort of in her spirit, motivated by the things that I've learned over the 15 years that she and I have been married. However, I guess I would say that the story bit is, instead of dedicating the book to her, she wound up in it. So I published my wife. She has one publication to her name. It is in this book. And so, you know, obviously, I guess I would say that, you know, technically her story is my favorite story because it's one that I've been living for 15 years, not just the one that's for the 2 pages that were given to her in this book. So that would have to be my fave, but I'd like to hear maybe from some of the other panelists too about this.
No, let's go for it.
I'll go, sure. So I had first heard about this anthology through a friend of mine who was also published in it, Tikashala. I sat down after hanging out with them all day and I told them about the chain that I wear pretty much every day. And then they told me about their pants that they had written about, and we both ended up writing our submissions together and turning it in. And that was like my first publication. I think it may have been theirs, and it's a really awesome thing to do together. And I guess my favorite thing about the story besides that is the story of how it came to be. I'm a little sentimental, but
Girl,
I am also
all
a
of us, I
Sagittarius.
Hey.
Yay.
I think Tig's picture was in front of Essie Purse Museum.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they are actually a sponsor for this night. So thank you, Essie. Y'all do just wonderful things for all of us and are such a big
That's where this
support
panel
to
would have
the-
been had we been together in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anita is fabulous and she does a great job there and really supports so many local minority communities. And we're happy to have her and everybody else in Soma. Really, it's getting to be a fantastic area. Obviously, great shot for a picture, as Tig found out. So that's great. How about you, Kate? I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your favorite?
Oh shit.
And you don't have your book.
I don't have my book, which makes this.
You don't
I don't
have to call her out.
No, it's all right. Well,
I'm gonna pass the buck because Romo's is actually my favorite.
I love that. Yeah, that really touched me, and it was very early in the book too. And having worked in the medical community, I've thought about some of those things too. And I was like, wow, yeah. Would they care for you? Would they do that work?
Yep.
You know, and it was very touching.
Thank you.
Plus, I liked it was Scrub Life. I mean, come on, that was perfect. I was like, this is too
So
good.
Well, one of my favorites was certainly Dapper Mindy's, but since Megan took that as an answer, I have to say my next favorite is Jordan.
Yes. Look at y'all.
Yeah,
Just gassing each other up. I love it.
And it's funny because I was going through the book again. I've been reading it in a very non-traditional way. I like to just crack open a page
Yeah.
and
Ooh,
go
I love
for it.
that.
Let that be the divine inspiration. And so I was doing that last night because I wasn't sure if we were going to have to read ours and another person's. And so that's what I landed on. And I was like, this is great.
I'm
I
going
love
to
that.
cry, please.
Go for it. You will not be alone.
Well, that's got to feel good though, Jordan, to get a shout out from a creative writing teacher for your first publication.
It really, and from my alma mater, I'm like, ooh, I'm geeked.
Yeah, I mean, the way you wrote about the chain, it just put in mind how I feel about the bow tie and the necktie. And I was like, wow,
yes.
I mean, just beautifully articulated. So
I love that. And had you not said that, I don't think I would have cross-referenced those two things. It's fabulous. What about you, Randy? Did you have any favorites in there?
Well, Well, I'm going to say each and every one of my fellow panelists.
Hey, that's a fair answer.
Um,
And world peace.
yeah, world peace. I almost didn't even get in the book. I didn't know about it until super late. And I shot Megan I don't know, Twitter or something. And I'm like, hey, I just heard about this. And she's like, come on. So then I had to get myself together to actually come on. But the breadth of the diversity and the expression of who we are, and just the multiplicity of identity and what we wear, and how that what we wear may not be the same thing we wear the next time, even within genres, So it was just magnificent. I mean, being 64, I've been watching this my whole life, and to see this realized in print and with such gorgeous pictures, it was just, I mean, it's like, okay, check. It was just beautiful to see us all there. And on the note of your wife, today I had to get an Uber to come home from Carti this morning. And the Uber driver, he just very casually starts talking about his husband. And, I start talking about former partners. And it was just so cool to see that this is part of our reality. And I know part of it's that we recognize each other, but with a mask, maybe not so easily. And so that was really cool. And congratulations to you as well.
A lot of the time at school, the mask that I wear, because everybody is required to wear a mask in the building where I teach, thank goodness. And one of the masks that I wear most often is my souped up pride flag that has the black and brown triangle on the side, and the light blue, and the trans one on the side as well, and then the big rainbow across the middle. And so visibility matters. Is a little
absolutely
to read some fashion choices that people are making right now. And so queers don't always recognize each other with the same ease that we used to. And having those signals through our fashion is so key. This book was put together before masking became a thing. But I think the conversation that's had in the book, these new outgrowths are so organic and natural, because queers are forever considering the ways that we can be walking billboards to each other and to the wider world, and to kids that need to come out and that are afraid to, or it's not safe for them to. And man, just visibility matters so much. Randy, your piece is about that, about whether your scrubs help to make you visible as a healthcare worker to the people that you are supporting, but then also if they knew that you were a queer, if that part was visible, would the scrubs override it because they need something from you? It's really difficult to consider what we wear.
They roll in there with a lot of Bibles because they're sitting there 3 and 4 hours. But it's like I see the same patients 3 times a week. And if they haven't passed, which so many do, I'm with them a long period of time. And so it's like some of them I'm pretty sure, we're cool, they know. And some of them I'm fairly certain would not be as generous. And so
for those that were, though, what an interesting moment to be at the end of your life and have this person that maybe you thought differently of your entire life until your last moments, and then you have this wonderful change of heart and get to have a beautiful experience with someone who would have always been a stranger.
Well, and I've had that as well. And I think that sometimes plays out as, well, but you're one of the good ones.
Right.
I get a pass. And then I think there are people that genuinely have a change of heart, because
that's beautiful.
We spend more time together than I do with family, and friends. And in the days of COVID, that's all I see pretty much.
Yeah, fair.
So,
but you're not walking around with rainbow scrubs on, are you?
They won't let me. Hey, I had it's a convoluted story how a copy of my book fell into hands of management, and it wasn't a good story, but I actually had a supervisor from another clinic that had read it because they were trying to figure out what to do about it, which was nothing. And she said that I was weird and creepy as a writer. And I was like, There's so many things I'd like to say about you, but I think I want to keep my insurance. So we're just going to let that ride.
That's
When you get
ridiculous.
64, you get less inclined to be as fiery and as fierce when you need your health insurance.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you for all the young ones still doing it. I mean, I still
Well-
get fiery, but not at work.
Okay. I think Kate's story in there also kind of speaks to this a bit about the importance of being visible. And I see you nodding your head a lot. And it was kind of something you realized in your story. And I love that because, you know, there were so many times in my life as well that I could have been so much more visible. And I wasn't, whether it's for fear of just judgment, whether it was safety or not, but just kind of, you know, plenty of voices in your head going, just, you know, don't make a deal about it or whatever. But really, you know, that small deal could build up to such a big one for a younger person down the road or something. And I loved that you were so open and honest and willing to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about that a lot. So for those who haven't read, I wrote about, so I have this t-shirt that I actually bought, I think for Little Rock Pride one year.
Yes.
And it says, nobody knows I'm a lesbian, which is a little bit funny. But also like I'm very, very femme, very straight passing. So it rings a little bit extra true. But I've started wearing it. Yep, there I am. But I've started wearing it my first day of teaching every semester. I know I end up on
love
students'
that.
Snapchat stories. I've seen it happen. But yeah, I started doing it because I think I actually had this professor when I was an undergrad at Hendrix, Jessica Jacobs, who told us once, it was like a group of other queer students, that she has been out at every job she's ever had, maybe not every single job ever, but she always said she's been out at many, many jobs, and how important that is for her students. I know it was important to me as like a young queer woman. So I've tried to be that, but you know, sometimes it's scary to be out and sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it's really tempting, you know, to use your straight passing privilege in those moments. But I think it's so important. Another thing that I do with my students is I ask pronouns on the first day. You would be shocked how many college age students don't know what pronouns are. And yeah, no joke. But the very first semester I did it, I had a student who had intentionally misgendered themselves, I think as a joke. And I really didn't know what to do about it. Like on the, you know, I handed out a sheet of paper and they had to do a thing and they intentionally misgendered themselves. And I wasn't sure what to do. And I was like, do I just ignore it? Do I just like, I don't know what to do. And I talked to another friend and they were like, you know, I'm someone who uses you know, cisgendered pronouns. My friend wasn't. And they were like, you have the opportunity to call this person out and be like, hey, are you serious about this? Because I will do this for you. But I think sometimes it's so important when you have that straight passing privilege to be, you know, an ambassador for our friends who are not going to be as safe in those situations.
Yeah. And fashion is definitely one of those ways that we do come out and signal to each other. It's also a way that we can make ourselves feel safe when we can't come out. Like if, you know, if our insurance is at risk, if our job, if we might get fired from our job, if we might get beat up or otherwise shit on in some type of informal, secretive, microaggressive way, you know, like I'm thinking about Gerard Wozek's piece. We only published one piece about underwear, which I think a lot of people would look at a book about queer fashion and be like, there's only one guy in his underwear in this book, but only one. And his piece was actually just about his mom was always making him wear the tighty whities and he just wanted some color in his life, you know, and that as a young man, even before he came out, that just having a pair of undershorts that was red would make all the difference to him, you know, for himself, to have a little piece of himself that was more visible to himself, you know? It's not, what we wear is not always about for what it does for other people. It has to be first and foremost about how we feel. And I think there's just beyond the thread of like, come out if you can, be as visible as you can, be as constantly visible as you can. That's certainly one of the themes and arguments that I think the book brings across when you examine all our voices together. But an equally important component that the book is trying to raise is this sense of self that we get out of our clothes, and how that can evolve and how that can sustain us in moments when maybe the outside world is not willing to sustain us.
I think that Shelley, you know, your title of yours was like the queerness of self-styling. I loved that so much because as queer people, we do that, like we lead that. And I think that fashion has typically been this thing where it's like, this fall, this is what's in, or whatever. And queer people have always mixed and matched and done fun things to find new representations of themselves. And there is something about self-styling that is just like what today's fashion is about. You're not going to find in a magazine that something's happening this fall and you should wear this outfit. It's about people who are well styled, they've styled themselves, and that comes from within. And we were people who led that way. So like right when I read your first title, I was like, I'm gonna like this, you know, because it's so true. It's kind of ingrained to who we are.
Yeah, and regardless of how visible a lot of times our choices are and how bold our fashion sense is, I find with queer people, it always starts from within, right? And so our creed is it's the person that makes the clothes and not the clothing that makes the person, right? And so sometimes it's even difficult to find clothing that has been created to fully project all of this fabulous dapperness and all of the things that we are, right? And
Yes.
so, yeah, it's just being able to find, you know, what emotes who we are at any, you know, particular time. But I also wanted to say that, you know, we always also have to balance the risk of our choices of what to wear, right? And so, as Randy was saying, you know, really having the desire to have some rainbow scrubs and things like that, right? Well, with being a professor, and I had been on the academic job market for 3 years before I got hired here. So, you know, I was hungry for work, right? But I still had to think, how do I want to show up for that interview? Because showing up like this, when I have been trying so hard for so long to get a job and I could potentially not get it because of this, I had to think, how did I want to show up for that interview? And I'm proud to say that I showed up for that campus interview in a bow tie and a blazer and some wingtips because I'm like, this is who they're hiring. The one thing that everyone is going to know before I even get to campus or anywhere is this is going to be a Black, dapper, queer woman who is going to be sitting before you. So there are no surprises.
I love that. Round of applause for that.
Yes.
That's fabulous. And you know what? It speaks to that institution to, you know, have been so smooth with it. It seems it doesn't seem like there was anything that would have hung up. So that's a beautiful thing. And in Arkansas, I think that there are a lot of places and people that have come a long way. And when I go to New York, they still think that we don't wear shoes and things. I'm like, you know what? You would be really surprised.
That new South is coming, y'all. We are they, and we are
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, the queers are the true rebels and punk rockers. I love it. Well, you know, I was thinking about this book and about everybody's story, and having spoken to Megan prior about, you know, where this was going, because it's obvious that this cannot be the last one of these. This is like, and I think you had said something about, you know, wanting to continue this in volumes or, you know, quarterly or something. And I could totally see that. And I just, I want to be in one sometime. Okay. Like,
Because that's the thing. There's no shortage. Every queer person has a relationship to their every human gets up and puts pants on in the morning, you know what I mean? Or not pants, shorts, a skirt, a dress, something. You know, we all get up and put on our clothes and do whatever it is that we do all day. Every one of us has a relationship to style and to fashion. There is no shortage of examples of queers who are capable of articulating emotional relationship to the closet containing their clothes, and how that affects the closet containing their identity. There's no shortage. Each of us has that, you know, whether we're brand new, whether we're a 13-year-old drag kid in New York City, or in a 90-year-old, you know, lady living that cruise ship life coming out of Los Angeles. You know, each and every story that's in this book is just like tip of the iceberg. We could have made it 200 pages. We could have made it 2,000 pages. We could release it quarterly. We could release it once a year. There would be no shortage of quality literary consideration and beautiful photographic evidence of who we are as people.
I agree. And just like it's been said tonight, earlier, you might wear something different next time, you know, like you evolve and change so much that you have X number of these that come out. By the time you get to number whatever, some of these first people are like, we're ready for round two. Like we're already at this different stage. Like I'm a butterfly, I thought I was one before, you know. But I remember when I was 18, I had just moved out of the house. I grew up in a very conservative, strict Southern Baptist kind of religion and small town. So I had my queerness kind of repressed for sure. A couple years of World of Warcraft made me friends and let me know that, hey, I'm actually a pretty likable person. So that gave me a little bit of boost. So I knew I needed to get out of there and moved to Little Rock, went to UALR, and it was a wonderful experience. But I was so gay. Like I was like, okay, I'm gay. Like, so I wore just the craziest stuff. And through the years, I've mellowed out so much. I mean, I'll still get dressed up in my full queer armor, I guess. But a lot of times I just, I think back about what I used to wear. I'm like, I cannot believe I wore that, you know? Do any of you guys have any pieces in your wardrobe that have particularly served as a piece of armor or a piece of weaponry even for you?
I mean, that's certainly how I feel about my bow ties and my neckties, my vest, the whole deal. When I put it on, it makes me feel comfortable, but also confident. And I know that it projects a certain level of confidence, because even though I'm, you know, a cisgender woman, I'm wearing a bow tie or a necktie, and people associate these things with intelligence and power. And so also with masculinity and manhood, but the way, you know, our brains are trained, even though I'm a cisgender woman wearing these symbols of intelligence and power, people tend to relate to me in that way because I'm wearing it. So.
One of my very best friends, Brian, he loves bow ties, and I had no idea the black hole of bow tie knowledge you can fall into. He also, his favorite knot is the Eldridge, and when you had written that, I was like, kindred spirits. Like I already know that I'm gonna love Shelley. So.
Yeah, bow ties are one of the few. I tried for every piece to be about a different thing, but bow ties are one of the only things where I had two submissions, one being my wife's and the other being represented on this panel. So, I mean, I genuinely, the community is so huge, so much bigger than you would think, not just amongst the queers, but amongst any, you know, like just
subgenre.
Bow tie people are serious people.
Yep.
I thought it was worth two submissions, you know?
Absolutely.
I think it is really interesting. Go ahead.
For me, most of my items are jewelry. I'm not wearing all of them right now. I worked earlier today, but I am wearing one, which I'll do what I can. Recently, maybe a few months after a few months that I got confirmed for the publication, I was feeling a lot more secure in my gender presentation and my identity. I like to think of this piece being at like the beginning of my journey being publicly out and being publicly queer, especially as a transmasculine person. And later on, you know, at first I'm like, I am going to be very masculine, like in what I am wearing and even in like how I carry myself. But lately, and this is one of the good things that's come from being in quarantine for me, is being able to kind of be away from the scrutiny and the impressions that everybody is putting upon someone who is masculine. And it has allowed me to be a lot more confident and comfortable wearing things that people would associate with more feminine people. But one of my first kind of forays into that were my pronoun earrings, which I got from a local artist here in Little Rock. Shoot, I'll shout them out. I got them
Bang Up
from
Betty.
Bang Up Betty. You already
Yes!
know.
I love
But
it.
I went in one day and she hand presses them in the shop, and I said, I'd like to mix and match. I'll get one bronze and I'll get one silver, and I'd like my pronouns on them. And at the time, it was my first time working in a job where I was out as being transmasculine, non-binary, and my coworkers were accepting of that. Before actually, I had worked in education. I worked as a middle school English teacher, and once I really started to say, okay, this is an actual thing that I am, and I would like to live my life out and proud, I felt that I couldn't do that in the classroom, at least working in K-12. And I quit teaching after I worked a year before, and during my second year, I ended up leaving. But yeah, golly, I'm just telling you my life story.
Go for it. That's what this is
Great.
about. I love those, by the way. They're really cute.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing that a pair of earrings can contain so much of your life story.
Seriously, or a bow tie, or scrubs, or like, gosh, I'm stoked. I'm just stoked to be here.
We have a
Hey.
question in the chat box. Dapper Mindy wants to know if any of us consider ourselves to be visual activists, and if so, what is the message that we are trying to share with that activism?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel as a Black woman, you know, I'm always heavily scrutinized in the first place. And so I prefer to just be consciously aware of my visual activism. And so it's like, well, since I'm going to be at times invisible to people and at other times hyper visible to people, I might as well consciously choose to be
Right.
all up in their face about what I want them to see and think about Black dapper queerness, right?
I love that.
So yeah.
I would say that yes, and I remember one incident stands out in particular was my mom and I've had a long struggle, and it wasn't until I was in my mid 50s that we actually came to a better understanding and now have a very good relationship. But there were times when I was younger that she would be better about my identity. But she always thought Jesus was going to save me. And we had to go, she has a nonprofit in Florida. I'm Mexican-American and my mom's Mexican, and we work with the immigrant farm worker community there, and she has a little nonprofit there. And so we were supposed to be going to this big hoo-ha foundation thing that they were giving her an award for. And she asked me to go with her. And I was like, and it was formal. I was like, well, if I can't wear a tux, I'm not going. And she started to get upset. And then she was like, I really want you to go. And they're just going to have to deal with it. And you better go and get measured and get a suit. And so that really blew me away, because I had this moment of reality with her that, you know, I really stuck to my guns, and I was like, no, I'm not going to go. And the fact that she never acted ashamed or embarrassed once we were at the gala and was introducing me all around and everything. And so that was really powerful, because I felt like we were presenting to this huge ensemble of people from all walks. Although I saw some of the rainbow in there, but that we were there in a way that a lot of parents and child don't present to the world. And, you know, and I always give my mom props for that moment. And, you know, it's like really special. I mean, when we started gaining our relationship in a really positive, strong manner, they're in Florida, my mom and my stepdad. And so I will go periodically to visit. And so a Christmas several years ago, and they love J.C. Penney's. And so mom and my stepdad were like, let's go to Penny's. Let's go to Penny's. We're going to get your Christmas. And I was like, oh, Lord God. Because, you know, shopping for clothes, jewelry, anything with my mother has always been, my mom's old school Mexican. I'm the only daughter. Well, I have a brother that's not my brother. And, but she's just now getting her head wrapped around that one. And I told her, I said, you know, you've always had the daughter you wanted. You just wouldn't accept that daughter. But anyway, we go into Penny's and I'm just like kind of not even trying to go in any direction because I'm not going to the women's wear. And if I go towards the men's wear, and I'm just kind of frozen, like, you know, deer in the headlights. And my mom says, come on, mija. And she grabs me by the arm and she takes me to the jewelry counter. She says, I think you need a good watch. And she goes right to the men's section. And I'm still wearing that watch today.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
And so I wear that as kind of my little piece of armor too, about the ability of growth. And even though it's really difficult to fight the wars that it takes to be who you are, you know, I worked with queer youth for many years. And one of the things that I would always tell them when their parents were not accepting was never give up on them, because they're your parents. And it may not always be this way. It might, but if you write them off and disappear or take your life or whatever this conversation's about, you may miss the opportunity to have a real genuine relationship, which, you know, that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
You know what?
I'm very lucky.
As queer people, I think that we are kind of forced sometimes to grow up faster than others and have a bit more burden to carry sometimes. And something that's been very true in my life is to have to be the bigger person to a lot of people in your life that really should have just been there for you, you know? But I don't know if any of you guys have any stories about that y'all would like to share, but I was much that. My dad and I were super at odds for a time, and we couldn't be in a room without really arguing. And I realized at one point, I was like, okay, I'm either going to have him in my life or I'm not. So I kind of just called him and I was like, look, here's where I'm at. Like, I'd love for you to be in my life, but you've got to like meet me halfway. And he actually did. And we have a great relationship today. And I do with my mom as well. But if I hadn't have held out for them, I don't think that we would speak today at all. And they really enrich my life. So it's not the same in every case, because some parents can just be consistently toxic and maybe just leave them in the background. But if you do have some faith, then or some hope.
Yeah. I said bye, Felicia, to my parents. Definitely. They're in that toxic category of people. I don't spend as much time trying to drag my past with me into a more progressive present. I spend more time focused on the future and those children that we can save, and those little queer babies who need to know that they can survive this, that they can grow up,
Right.
that they can get out, that they can survive, and then eventually that they can thrive. You know, I think about Jordan's story of leaving the profession of teaching and not being able to make it to a second year because of this. I feel like, you know, when I wear my rainbow face mask at school, so many of the kids say nice mask, but what the words that are coming out of their mouth are nice mask. But what they're saying is, thank you, I see you, I feel seen by you, thank you for existing as a bright, shiny beacon of light that says that we can live to be 40 years old someday, because right now that doesn't feel very possible. And, you know, for other teachers in my building, there are other queers in my high school where I teach, but none of them are out to the students and the parents and none of them are constantly sounding the alarm on it and being the hey visibility in the room. And I like to think that if Jordan had been hired into my building instead of whatever building they were hired into, that maybe you would have felt more able, more comfortable, more safe, you know, no promises on nothing bad ever happening to you in your job, but you would have somebody to go to, somebody who you felt would understand you and could support you until you felt able to be that person for other people, you know, and you wouldn't have had to leave teaching. But no matter what age we are, no matter what stage we're at, we have to pull the next one up. And we have to be alert to like how not just the ancestors, not just the long deceased, the legacy they left us and the fight they left us, but the living ancestors, you know, like Romo, the oldest person on this panel for now, we have a lot to learn from you, right? And then similarly, like Jordan and Kate are kind of babies compared to my age. So they have a lot to learn from me. You know what I mean? Like we have to each keep showing each other how to survive this, no matter what this might be, and no matter how much we've survived so far.
Yeah, I want to say too that in all the years that I worked with youth here in Arkansas, the program that we had was Diverse Youth for Social Change, and they self-identified and named themselves Queerblings.
Queerblings.
The Queerblings. And
I like that.
I was doing a thing with James Lacine in New York a little while ago and the TMI project, and I said that in the story that I did on stage with them. And now across New York, the Queerblings, you know, I'll get messages that say, "Oh, our Queerblings," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." But
That's
also
fabulous.
the thing about toxic parents, I absolutely agree that distance is a necessary part of that, because I had a lot of distance. And even so, though my mom and I get along so well now, I tell her there's a reason I live 1,800 miles away. And, you know, you have to know your boundaries, even when you're trying to maintain whatever tenuous hold that you may have with those parental units.
And boundaries are just a subject all to themselves. And I guess just as another note on the being visual and representing the queer community in these ways, I kind of struggled with this with my own business. I had two separate accounts, my personal account, my business account. I was like, how do I handle being this super out queer person? And I would go to the clubs and dress up and do makeup, and I wasn't a drag queen. I didn't really consider myself a female impersonator or anything like that, but I definitely looked freaking crazy. So I was like, how do I convince these people to purchase my goods and also this? And I realized just being incredibly genuine and open and honest and just posting pictures of all of it, people just kind of get to know you as a story, and it helps other local queer businesses to not have to go through some of those things first, you know, to wonder if they could post something exceptionally queer in Little Rock, Arkansas, and still be able to make their business work. And I've actually had a lot of luck with that and been very surprised by our local community. So that's been a happy note, I guess, for that side of the story.
We have
Kate.
big love in the chat box from the publisher of this anthology, Aaron Wood. Hi, love. Thank you for being here with us and for giving us a platform to raise up all these queer voices. Aaron's question has to do with costuming and whether that plays any kind of role in our choices, or is costuming anything special or different that everyday dress cannot achieve? And I'm not totally sure how to answer that question, but my instinct drives me to just say RuPaul's catchphrase, you know, that we're all born naked and the rest is drag. So I don't even really know what it means to be drag anymore. And I don't really know what it means to be queer anymore, but I definitely identify as a part of those things. You know, everything we do, I think, is costuming, is messaging, I guess. I don't know, that's a very like weak tea postmodern answer for you, but that's where my head is at on her question.
I think even just if you think about kind of the grand costuming that is, you know, kind of in the ballroom scene or in club kids scenes and stuff like those, the outrageous looks. That's what my friends and I did a lot of. And it's almost like, I think that, heterosexual people typically, they have so many comfortable places to be and to dress up that they have these kind of uniforms they wear to dress, and it's a suit. And whenever we go out to be with our family and our people, we get to kind of decide what our dressing up is. And that's kind of the dress up, is the taking whatever your gender identity is and just vamping it to the max and making them eat it, as Latrice would say. So
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the extreme version of dapperism. So moving into dandyism. So I tend to find things that I can costume like that for Halloween or something. And so it might be a sheriff, it might be my all-time favorite was as Mr. Nancy from American Gods. And I want to see, so this is me doing a side-by-side with the drawing of Mr. Nancy. So
oh my God.
I try to find things that I can dandy up. So yeah, what would be the dandy version of that?
I love that. It's like
I love that you brought up Halloween, because when I think about costuming, I think a lot about experimentation. I think about like the ways in which we see little kids at Halloween dress up like, as you're saying, like firemen, like as the adult versions of things that they maybe aspire to be. I have this favorite film, Princess Sid. Has anybody seen this? It's SYD. I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix. It is the happiest gay coming of age story I've seen in a really long time. I actually saw it for the first time at Kaleidoscope, which is another Little Rock staple, LGBT film fest. But it's about a young woman kind of coming into herself as a like bi pan woman, and in like kind of the climactic middle scene, she rocks a tux, a full-on tuxedo at this party that her aunt is throwing. And it's this moment where she says out loud for the first time, like, yeah, I'm bisexual, or I like both, I like it all. And I think a lot of times like that costuming is us trying on a more extreme version of ourselves, or what would it be like if I was really femme for a minute, or really like butch for a minute, or any of the really, really like fucking rainbow and like all of the above. But that's what I think about. I think of Princess Sid when I think about costume.
I did see that movie. It took a minute for the title to register, but yeah, that was a great movie.
Oh, look, nobody dies at the end. Like everybody's happy. There's so much like kissing and it's fucking cute. I love it. Everyone should see that movie.
Officially on my list.
Do it now.
I've already written down in front of me. I'm ready for this. Under the Tuscan Sun is one of my very favorite films, and it's kind of one of those. They're gonna feel great. There are gay people in it. How could it be bad? So I'm definitely putting that down, as well as Nick Casey for footwear.
Yeah, Nikkacy, Nick Casey. They're a tremendously good human being, in addition to being a maker of very fine footwear.
That's fabulous. I'm already sold. I just love the many ways that the creativity just plays out. Hey.
Is Mindy just casually going to drop the link to everything we talked about?
Yeah, Dapper Mindy is, I can hear her clapping in the living room. She's backseat driving us for this panel.
Yes. Drop the footwear link. My girlfriend would love that.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So I'm on an iPad, so the chat box I have to pull up separately. I'm sorry that I have to reach over to the side, but it's not scrolling to the side for me. So if I miss something, let me know.
We will.
There we go. NickCase.com.
Yeah.
Shoes.
Fabulous. Well, we have 10 minutes left for questions and any more commentary from anybody. Megan.
We've got another question.
Here we go.
Are there any perspectives that I feel like are missing now that I've had 6 months to sit with this book since publishing it? Oh, brutal question from publisher to anthology editor. Brutal.
It's impossible. There are too many, right?
No, look, I mean, there were no submissions that are haunting me as should have having been included that were not included, but there are an infinite
Good.
number of people walking around out there, an infinite number of people posting what they have on their Instagram, and all of those people should be in a book, and all of those people should say their say about what they wear and why they wear it. You know what I mean? So I mean, do I look back and feel like there's an empty space? No, there's no empty space. Our hearts and minds are full with this cornucopia of 75 contributors that we have for this anthology, but there are a million more. You know what I mean? Yes, I regret that we didn't have the budget to do a 2,000-page anthology, Erin. Maybe next time.
You threw it back.
Hey, you know what? This is just something that I think is just timeless. You know, this is something that could be on so many people's shelves forever. You can pull it out at any time. Megan and I kind of talked about this the other day, just about.
Yeah, we can do a quick flip through for people that haven't taken a look at the book. Firstly,
Yeah.
these gorgeous Gucci platforms on the cover. You know you want
that we
those.
all want. Yes.
Wait, are they yours or are they Mindy's?
They're Mindy's. They're Mindy's.
How dare she make us all crave so badly? This is one thing I love about this book is
There's
the
Romo's.
huge feature on the photos. It's easy to open, like you said, and go through in such an organic way and just have some fun and open a page and put your finger on it. Every day after work, I sat outside and had a glass of champagne and went through one of the colors. And that was like just the treat of my day to read about all of my friends that we don't know each other yet.
What a lovely way to read a book. Love that.
Yeah, just add champagne to most anything, and it's
It's true.
And actually, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about brands of champagne or not, but throwing out there to Cook's Brut. Kids, cheap and delicious. Okay, like
Mine was Andre. Just throwing that.
hey, yes.
This super gay book brought to you by Diet Coke. Drink of middle-aged moms. You know it's cool. I'm enjoying their new nerd commercials. P.S. That's neither here nor there. And that's reminding me to get back to the fact that almost everyone on this panel wears glasses.
Yeah.
Romo, do you have glasses that you're just not wearing right now?
Hold them
Yeah,
out on
there
us.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay. It's weird, right? It's weirdly a universe. There's a submission about glasses in the book. You know, I think that is a weird thing for us to discover that we have in common with all the differences between us. You know, it's interesting that that's an area of overlap. I don't know what it means. You know, we can talk about it or not talk about it, but
That means I
think
can't
it's cool.
see.
Yeah.
I actually have a pair that don't have the transitional lenses to watch TV and go to when I used to go to the movies. So I don't have to keep moving my head to get the range of my lens. And then I have a pair that has all that for particularly work because they kind of want me to see where I'm putting needles. And I went stumbling out one day, half asleep, and picked up the wrong pair. And I learned that I actually could cannulate people almost blindfolded.
We have to let that out. Well, this part's gonna be cut.
I was
from
like,
the final
I'd
production.
taken them up here and they're like, Romo, put your glasses. I said, oh, you don't want me to put these on.
That's too funny.
Saving lives.
These are my non-glasses glasses. So when I want to seem like I'm not wearing glasses, these are the rimless ones. So I have some that are, that has the actual frames to them. And it works especially well if you're being, if you're taking pictures or whatever. So I had some similar to these in my wedding photos because I didn't want,
Yeah.
taking up so much real estate on this stage.
I've been wearing clear frames for like 20 years and it pisses me off when they get popular with other people because I'm like, me and Bono have been here all along. We've been here the whole time. Y'all don't know. But these particular frames are I started doing aviator style because just the
Cool.
hunter-esque Thompson nature of them, I think is really evocative and kind of like aggressive, gender nonconforming wise. You know, I'm enjoying the more like shop goggle style glasses. I love Jordan's frames too. Same reason, those big frames.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, my first pair of glasses were literally cat eyes.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
love
no,
that.
it was not nice.
I
mean,
was like, I wouldn't have guessed that.
I didn't pick them.
I was about to say, you did not
That's
pick
what
them
I was
out
waiting
then, did you?
Remember the part about the traditional Mexican mother and me being the only girl child that she thought she had?
You're
Yeah.
getting cat eye glasses.
Baby, you
Yeah.
getting cat eye glasses, you getting that perm, and you gonna wear that dress.
I can
Oh,
I
yeah.
can relate when you have a mother that wants to, you know, live through you, or this is the daughter they always wanted, and they wanted this daughter to dress up and do all these things. I mean, I had a few years of ballet. It's the worst experience of my life. I cried every Saturday.
Oh,
Going to ballet, and how she says we'll occasionally kind of argue about, of course, childhood and things like that. And she said once, well, I was trying to get rid of that country gait of a walk you have. And I was like, you mean my swagger? You trying to kill my swagger? What?
Never kill the swagger.
Oh.
Who does that? And so, I mean, we can kind of laugh about that now, but yeah.
Hey, when I started school, girls weren't allowed to wear pants. And then when they finally started changing that, I was still, I think, maybe late elementary school, and my mom wasn't having it. And so I started always wearing skirts because I would roll them pants up underneath my skirt. And as soon as I got a block from the house, that skirt, and I had a special little place that I hid it in the bush. And off I'd go in them
Yes.
pants. But I got busted one day. And my mom happened to be turning the corner as I was getting my little skirt. And yeah. And you know, her and that chancla boy, pow, 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 all the way up the street, man. My mama, and she had a word for every beat. You know, she'd just be whooping you, and every had a word.
Oh my gosh. I think we have Melissa in the comments saying that had to deal with the same kind of situation with mother living vicariously. It's interesting because you think that that might be happening because they didn't get to be maybe who they wanted to be at that age, but you kind of forget over time, I guess, that it was because someone might have been holding you down or putting you to their own ideals. We have, let's see, we got Aaron in here asking.
Oh, we've got 2 minutes left, Bryant.
Oh, master
right.
blog.
Aha.
I have that.
Yeah.
Permit me
hard to
some
get rid
final
of.
deep thoughts. Permit me some
Go
final
for it.
deep thoughts.
Do it.
Final deep thoughts, Megan. Permitted.
With Megan Volpert. Although this panel may not have been particularly child friendly, the book is certainly legible and comprehensible and appropriate for a 13-year-old kid to read. It's also appropriate for a 70 or 80 or 90-year-old person who thinks that they're here, they're queer, and they're already used to it. And what else do they need to know? You know, I think that it contains a lot of useful starting points for dialogue for all different kinds of people, no matter what stage of their life they're at, no matter how queer or straight as an ally they might be. I really want it to be accessible to everyone, to be able to be flipped through, to be able to be comprehensible to a wide variety of people. And I hope that it helps start self-esteem inside of each of us. I hope that it helps start conversations between and amongst us, those of us that are already talking about this and those of us that have never thought to talk about this. Kate says coffee tables and classroom libraries. Yes, absolutely. You know 20 people who need to read this book. You audience need to read this book. Please enjoy it. Spread the word, because we need to talk about this. We need to talk about the fact that we got to get dressed.
We do. I agree. Fantastic closing remarks from Megan. Thank you, everybody. Jordan, Kate, Shelley, Randy, and all of the fabulous callous people that are hiding in the background. And for you, Aaron, and also for SC Purse Museum for helping sponsor this.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Brian.
guys.
Thank you, Megan, for putting this together. Aaron, you rock as always. And all of you, my lovelies, I'm going to see you in the real world someday.
Yes, we need to plan a get together. For
Me
now, let's all
too.
add each other on Facebook and Instagram and whatever else, and let's fill some bookshelves with this fabulous book.
Hey.
Yep, very fabulous.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for joining in. I hope you had a really great time. I know we all did, and I am off to pour another glass of champagne.
All right, good night.
Well,
y'all.
it is bourbon time for me.
Yes.
Yes,
There, I knew I liked you.
that's fabulous.
Dapper
All
right.
and bourbon. All right.
Maybe I will do an
7:31. We did it.
old-fashioned.
6:31 your time.
Yes.
I have to go on a work meeting now, so bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.